The room was a vacuum of light, save for the harsh, flickering blue glow spilling from the smartphone. Ryan sat hunched over his desk, his posture rigid, his eyes bloodshot and unblinking. On the screen, the TikTok interface for At Last feed pulsed with a dark, semi-transparent overlay. Comments cascaded down the feed in a frantic blur, people calling it a prank, questioning the timestamps, demanding proof. Ryan ignored them all. His thumb hovered over the glass, steady despite the tremors in his hands. He checked the clock. 12:02 a.m. The silence in the apartment was absolute, pressing against his eardrums like deep water. He shifted his weight, the chair groaning. He had been tracking this account for 3 weeks, mapping every tragedy. He leaned closer, the cold light carving sharp shadows into his face. The seconds ticked by, slow and deliberate. 12, 2, and 40 seconds. He held his breath, waiting for the notification. The clock clicked over to 12:03 a.m. A notification pinged, sharp and sudden in the quiet. Ryan tapped the screen. A new video loaded instantly. It was 5 seconds of a single red shoe resting in a stagnant, oil-slicked puddle. The camera angle was low, shaky, mimicking a handheld device. Ryan leaned in, his thumb pinching the screen to zoom. The image pixelated, the VHS-style distortion blurring the edges of the frame into static. He squinted, his breath hitching as he scanned the surface of the water. There, in the reflection, a shape. It was tall, jagged, and perfectly still, standing just outside the frame of the actual shot. Ryan dragged the slider back, replaying the clip. He zoomed further, his knuckles turning white as he gripped the phone. The curiosity that had driven his 3-week obsession evaporated, replaced by a cold, sharp spike of adrenaline. The figure in the reflection was not a trick of the light. It was an anchor, and it was waiting for him to notice. Ryan dropped the phone onto the desk, his heart hammering against his ribs. He scrambled for his laptop, fingers flying across the keys. He needed to be sure. He pulled up the account history, his eyes darting between the feed and the browser tabs. He clicked on a post from 2 days ago, a flickering traffic light at a rain-slicked intersection. He paused the frame, squinting at the graffiti. He opened a news archive, searched for the downtown accident, and found the photo. The graffiti matched. The same jagged lines, the same faded paint. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. He clicked another video, water dripping from a cracked ceiling. He cross-referenced the timestamp. The dates aligned perfectly. He stood up, his chair scraping harshly against the hardwood floor, the sound echoing in the confined space. He paced the length of the room, his mind churning through the data. It wasn't a prediction, it was a countdown. The pattern was undeniable, and the implications were suffocating. He realized with a jolt that the account was marking the path towards something inevitable. The weight of the realization left him breathless. He needed air, or perhaps he just needed to hear something other than the blood rushing in his own ears. He walked to the window, his movements stiff and deliberate. He pushed the glass upward, expecting the familiar hum of the city, the distant grind of tires on wet asphalt, the faint wail of a siren, the rhythmic pulse of urban life. He heard nothing. The street below was a dark, glistening ribbon of emptiness. No headlights swept across the brickwork of the opposite building. No stray cats scavenged in the alley. The city was not just asleep. It felt as if it had been wiped clean of all sound. He leaned out, his palms pressing hard against the cold, damp sill. The silence was heavy, a physical pressure that pushed back against his chest. He turned his head, scanning the shadows between the streetlights, but the darkness was absolute. He was alone in the room, and the world outside had vanished into a void. He pulled back, sliding the window shut with a sharp click that sounded like a gunshot in the stillness. He stood in the center of the floor, listening. The silence was no longer empty. It was waiting. He retreated to the edge of the bed, his legs feeling heavy, almost uncooperative. He sat down, the mattress springs groaning under his weight, and pulled the phone from his pocket. It felt unnaturally warm against his palm. A soft, rhythmic vibration buzzed against his skin. A notification. He stared at the screen, his thumb hovering over the icon. It was At Last feed, another upload. He tapped the notification, his breath hitching in his throat. The screen flickered, the familiar grain of the feed filling his vision. It was a 7-second clip. He saw a desk, cluttered with notebooks and a half-empty glass of water. He saw the curtains, drawn tight. He saw the cracked mirror on the wall, reflecting the dim light. A cold spike of adrenaline shot through his chest. He knew that desk. The video was filmed from inside his own bedroom. The reality of the intrusion hit him with the force of a physical blow. A sharp, discordant chime cut through the silence. A text notification flashed on his screen from an unknown number. "Don't fall asleep." Ryan stared at the glowing letters until they blurred. His pulse hammered against his ribs. A frantic, irregular rhythm that drowned out the hum of his own breathing. He dropped the phone onto the bed and lunged for the kitchen counter. His fingers closed around the cold, textured handle of a knife. The steel felt heavy, a desperate anchor in a room that had suddenly become a trap. He moved into the hallway, his back pressed tight against the wall. He checked the bathroom first, kicking the door wide and sweeping the blade through the empty air. The shower curtain hung still. The tiles were dry. He moved to the kitchen, his boots silent on the floorboards, heart thundering in his ears like a drum. He checked the cabinets, the pantry, the narrow space behind the refrigerator. Nothing. He returned to the living room, his eyes darting to every shadow, every corner, every sliver of darkness that could hide a presence. He was hunting a ghost in his own home, and with every passing second, the air felt thinner, more pressurized. He was not alone, but he could not find the source of the gaze that followed him. He stepped back into the bedroom, the floorboards groaning under his weight. His eyes locked onto the closet. He remembered closing it. He remembered the sharp click of the latch. Now, the door stood wide open, a dark, vertical gash in the wall. The space inside was a void, deeper and darker than the rest of the room. His phone pulsed in his hand, a frantic, rhythmic vibration. He looked down, a new upload. His thumb hesitated, then tapped the screen. The video was short, just darkness at first. Then the frame shifted. A figure stepped into view. It was tall, motionless, with features that blurred like wet paint on a canvas. It was standing in the center of a room he recognized as his own. The figure was wearing his university hoodie. Ryan's breath hitched, a sharp, ragged sound in the silence. He looked at the closet door again. He stood paralyzed, the knife heavy in his grip, as the realization solidified. The boundary between the digital feed and his physical reality had vanished. Ryan stared at the screen, his eyes tracing the angle of the video. The perspective was wrong. It was not filmed from the doorway, nor from the bed. It was filmed from a height that did not exist in his room. He looked at the wall behind his desk, then at the phone in his hand. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow. The figure was not in the closet. It was not in the room. It was standing directly behind the person holding the camera. He spun around, his boots skidding on the hardwood, the knife swinging in a wide, useless arc. The room was empty. The closet was just a dark, hollow space. He turned back to the phone, his fingers trembling so violently he nearly dropped it. The final frame of the video froze. The figure in the distorted hoodie was looking directly into the lens, its face a smear of static. The truth settled into his marrow. The camera was not recording the room, it was recording him. The screen flickered and went black. The apartment was silent when the police arrived. No signs of forced entry, no struggle. The hardwood floor was pristine, the air stagnant. On the unmade bed, a single smartphone lay face up, its screen dark. An officer picked it up, the glass cold against his palm. He pressed the power button. The device hummed to life, the interface of the Atlasfeed account glowing in the dim light. He tapped the final, corrupted file. A wave of heavy, rhythmic static filled the room, drowning out the distant sound of rain against the window. Beneath the noise, a voice emerged, thin and jagged, whispering a single chilling sentence: "You watch too long." The officer dropped the phone. It clattered against the frame, the screen flickering as it hit the sheets. The account remained logged in. A new notification banner slid down from the top of the display. It was a countdown timer, ticking downward with mechanical precision. The screen pulsed with a faint blue light, casting long, distorted shadows against the bedroom walls. The digital tearing sound returned, a sharp, metallic screech. The timer hit 3 minutes. The cycle was not ending. The screen faded to black, leaving the room in total, suffocating darkness.